Hello dear students, I am Dr. Garima Srivastava from Lal Bahadur Shastri College, Lucknow. I am going to take up the topic of international human resource planning in an extended form as to why we need to understand that why human resource planning is an important part of human resource management in every organization. We all know that human resource planning is the planning of placing the right people at the right time at the right place, and this becomes very important when an organization starts to expand its operations in the overseas market. Now, of course, the expansion comes with many other responsibilities to the organization, and every department of the organization is responsible for their own task. Similarly, human resource management also has its own tasks for that purpose. How efficient global human resource planning can be done, this becomes an important part of human resource management. We need to check out on the following 10 points to make this particular process an effective one, so as to expand its operations in the global market or in the overseas market for an organization. Moving down to the very first point is break all the local national glass ceilings. Now, when I talk about local nationals, we need to understand what local national means. Local nationals are specifically the potential expatriates whom the organization considers that they will be best suited or trustworthy people who can go outside, who can go to the overseas market and perform the different functions of the organization. So, it may sometimes lead to certain kind of favoritism to the people who are of the home country nationals. Then of course we can have expertise from the home country nationals, but specifically when moving towards more and more expertised people, expertised operations in the overseas market, company also needs to look into other aspects and look into the other people who are specialized in their own respect, and they are placed somewhere else in the world apart from the home country. So, very first step towards developing or building the global HR program is to end all kind of favoritism towards these managers who are the nationals of the country in which the company is based. So, of course, the company has to move ahead of these local nationals. It can take advantage of local nationals, local people, the people from their own country who can move to the overseas market for their operations. But for more and more growth, for more and more upgradation of different technological aspects and the other aspects that are needed in the overseas market, it is important that country or a company also focuses on the other nationals of the other countries. Company tends to consider nationals of the headquarter country as potential expatriates, who are called as local nationals. But this us versus them always forms a distinction between different countries, and this may land the different companies into a very greater kind of disadvantage. So, of course, the culture of the company is always open to every person outside the organization. So, if the people outside your organization are aware of the fact that the company favorites the people within the organization or internal employees, then there can be a disadvantage of that, losing good capital, losing good skilled workers from the other companies, other countries to be hired in the organization. So, the very first point, why should we break all the local nationals? That ethnocentric companies tend to be xenophobic. Why? Because they are almost afraid of giving higher positions to the people from the other countries. Now, this xenophobia has to be removed by the organizations. Why? Because when the person joins the organization, HR's responsibility is to develop that trust, that confidence among the people who are joining the organization. So, if you are not trusting the people outside the organization who can be helpful, who can be beneficial for your organization will always be in a skewed kind of perception of the world. So, to broaden up that perception of the organization, to broaden up the skill sets of the organization, we always need to move towards regiocentric or geocentric kind of staffing. Then this is why more nationals get juicy assignments, climb up the ranks, and wind up settings in the board. Thus, the company ends up with a skewed perception of the world. So, we need to move from the ethnocentric kind of approach to the regiocentric or geocentric kind of approach while staffing. Then if we go in for more of the local nationals, then lesser efforts will be put on recruiting the top notch people. Why? Because mostly the companies who prefer their internal employees to move overseas, they give these people the higher positions in the organization. So they are lesser making lesser effort to find those top management people from other places of the world. So it will ultimately end up the company in the shallow bench strength. Shallow bench strength means the talent pool of the organization becomes very shallow, where the employees in the organization are lesser in number. The skilled people are lesser in number, and more of the people will be of lesser skills. So if an organization wants multi-skilled, multitasking people in the organization, it should always move from the ethnocentric approach to the regiocentric approach. Then of course, a very important point, insufficient attention and budget are devoted to assessing training and development of the careers of valuable local nationals. Now if we go on recruiting local nationals for the higher posts in the organization, then a company will be saving the cost on training and development of the career planning of these people in the organization. So there can be sometimes a loss to the organization in the aspect that these people become overconfident of different operations they perform in the organization. So definitely everyone who is moving out for the overseas operations to the global market, they need certain kind of training, and this kind of training needs to be budgeted by the company. So if we allow if we allow other people from the other organizations, other countries to enter into the organization, there can be many benefits, like we will be skill pooled with different kind of skills and specialization, and of course a kind of healthy competition can be generated between the external people and the internal people. A big distinction can be found between expatriates and local nationals' pay, benefits and bonuses. So if we go on taking the local nationals for the national boundaries, across the national boundaries, then the expenses of placing these people outside the country will be higher. So of course this can be reduced. How it can be reduced? It can be reduced by hiring more and more people from that local country who are more aware of the climate, aware of the culture, aware of the customers in that external environment. So if the people are aware of this climate, then they will be able to work more for the organization, they will be able to cooperate, they will be able to make a conducive kind of relationship between the company and the local nationals of that country. So it is important that the human resource planning department, they form a mix of they find a mix of local nationals as well as the people from the other countries, so that the company is benefited from different types of specializations the people are having. So it is important to break all the local national ceilings for the organization. Then comes the second point. It means trace your lifeline. Now once you have decided to take up certain positions, to give certain positions to the internal people and give other important positions to the people of that particular country. Now it is important to understand the organization structure and which nodes are your lifeline. Now when we talk about lifeline, it means the key positions of the company. Now by key position, I mean to say the positions, the jobs which cannot be left vacant for a very longer period of time. If the jobs are left for a longer period of time, then of course there will be certain kind of delays in the functions of that job, in the orientation of that job, then again decision making that was being done by the person who was on that job. So this delay may cost extra money, extra time of the organization. So we need to continuously check that what are the lifelines of the company. So identify the activities that are essential to achieving the success around the world and specify the position which hold the responsibility for the organization. Now over here by positions we mean the lifeline positions or the key positions of the company. So for example, we can say the CEO positions are the lifelines. Then again, the higher managerial positions in every department are the lifelines. So if these positions are left vacant for a very longer time, of course there will be a loss for the organization. Then apart from defining the lifeline and key positions of the company, we also need to define what are the technical, functional and soft skills that are required for these lifelines. Why? Because whenever these lifelines are left vacant, suppose a certain kind of uncertainty comes and one of the position gets vacant. Now in that position, it is the responsibility of human resource planning department that some other person is deputed to this lifeline position, so that the decisions, so that the functions of this job are continuously performed without any break. Now of course, that is why the finding of or specification of technical, functional and soft skills required for these lifeline jobs are required. So once you define these particular skills for these lifeline jobs, you will be able to find people according to these lifelines, and again with those specific skills which are required to fill up these lifelines. The lifeline and the role description should be reconstructed at least annually to ensure they express the business strategy. Now, why we are talking about restructuring of these lifelines and role description at least once in a year? Why? Because when we talk about business environment, it is always forced with some kind of external environment. So external environment has certain forces which are not controlled by the organization, and these forces may influence various functions of the organization. So suppose some of the laws changes in laws regarding employment in the other country changes. So again, you have to change the lifelines and you have to change the laws related to lifelines and the people who will be recruited on those lifelines. That is why every year you need to make a review of all of the whole as a human resource planning process, and then prepare a restructured plan of role description of these lifelines in the organization. Thus, skill teams update their roles description every 6 months to keep pace with the market and to inform their managers which skills are hot and which skills are in good supply in the organization. Now, by keeping the role description, by keeping a database of the role descriptions of various roles of the lifelines, the organization will be benefited in the form that it will be able to contrary have all the kinds of hot jobs, all the kinds of skills in their organization. A list of different kinds of skills which are required for these lifelines can be prepared. So organization will be well aware that what jobs are very important, what kind of skills are very important, and are they present in the organization itself. Because if they are present in the organization will definitely go for internal hiring at the first step. No doubt is there, when we hire people from the internal department, internal to the organization, there is a kind of sense of satisfaction amongst the employees. So when seeing it from the purview of recruitment or seeing it from the purview of motivation of the people, internal recruitment is good. But internal recruitment, it should be always be mixed with certain kind of external peoples, so that internal people face some kind of good healthy competition by these external people, and there comes a sensitivity or towards the organization that they have to work hard towards their goal achievement continuously. Then comes the third point: build a global database to know who and where your talent is. Now, when we talk about building of a global database, it means a database has to be maintained, a list of people has to be maintained by the human resource department, planning department, so that whenever these key positions, whenever these lifeline positions are left vacant, people can be taken up from these pools and they are placed in the network wherever it is left vacant. So we need to keep this in mind, that the database should consist of the people, should be able to find the people, who are the future perspective who can fill up these vacant positions, and people with good soft skills, technical and functional skills, who are ready, who will be ready in near 6 months or say 1 year to take up the positions such as lifeline positions. So main tool of global human resource policy has to be global database management. Why? Because multinational companies have more strategic posts scattered around the globe than other posts in the organization. Now, of course, when we move outside a particular nation, a particular country, if headquarter or a subsidiary is located in the other country from where the organization is doing its operations, of course all the major activities may be done at the headquarter itself, but the people sitting at the top positions in these subsidiaries play a very strategic role because they are facing a number of challenges in the international market. Now, if we talk about these challenges, one of them can be the cultural change or the customers' preferences, likes and dislikes towards the product. So, of course, the people sitting in the subsidiaries in these different countries need to work more strategically as compared to the people sitting in the home country. So that is why a global database has to be maintained. For example, a very good example, Unilever has been practicing a broader kind of talent pools by maintaining 5 talent pools stretching from individual companies. For example, Good Humor Breyer ice cream in United States and Walls ice cream in Britain, 2 foreign subsidiaries, Unilever United States Incorporation and Unilever UK Holding Limited, to global corporate headquarters. Now it is already maintaining, Unilever is already practicing this kind of global database, so that it keeps on shifting people, deploying people from one country to another when and wherever they are required. They are doing it in a very efficient manner. None of their key positions, none of their lifeline positions are left vacant with the help of this global database only. So this talent pool, the list of talent pool or list of these people who will become ready to take these lifeline positions in near future is very important for the organization. Now this list can be prepared by finding out those prospective people who will be the glopats in the mobility pyramid, who are ready to move to the overseas market and serve the organization for a longer period of time. The employees who show potential to move significantly are quickly marked for development list. Now, how is this global database is prepared? How is this prepared? Now, the very first step is that the people who show potential, the people who are moreover interested to move to the overseas market, they are listed, they are shortlisted, they are found, they are taken out from the rest of the people, and they are put into the developmental list. Now when I talk about developmental list, it means that some kind of training, some kind of other developmental programs need to be given to these people so that they become more ready to take up the jobs in the overseas market. So where their progress through pools is not guided not only by their direct bosses but by the managers up to 3 levels above. Now, of course, this developmental list will make them ready for the 3 levels up the managerial level. So, if they become ready for the next 3 levels, of course, you are ready to place them at any of the places whichever becomes vacant in the near future. So you can see how beneficial this developmental list is, from where we can directly take up people who are ready for the next 3 levels in the organization, and if any of the levels becomes vacant, the people can be placed. So this continuous upgradation by training and development of potential people, potential employees from within the organization has to be done by the Human Resource Planning Department. Now, if Human Resource Planning Department only focuses on hiring of good people, it will ultimately end up in a kind of loophole where the network is complete, but when the network becomes vacant or some of the part of the network becomes vacant, they won't be able to place good potential people in this network. So for that purpose, it is necessary that they keep this network filled, the organizational network filled, and at the same time simultaneously they need to keep the key positions also filled up. Now, for this very purpose, it is necessary to construct that mobility pyramid. Now, when we talk about the mobility pyramid, mobility means movement of employees from one organization to another. Now, if we talk about mobility pyramid, it is a very important, you can say, tool where we can find the people, we can list out the people, we can group the people in various aspects, and then in these aspects we will be able to find that who is the most favorable person who can move to the overseas to perform the functions of the organization. So evaluate your managers in terms of their willingness to move to new locations. You need to evaluate them. Not everyone will be willing to move to the new locations in the overseas market. So if the people are willing, how much willing they are, how, do they want their families to accompany them, do they want to stay there for a very long time, or do they want to come back after the first assignment and again go for the second assignment. So we can have a category of people when we talk about mobility pyramid in the organization. So if we categorize these people, these willing people on the basis of willingness to move to the new locations, we will be able to list them and we will be able to send them according to their willingness. And of course, if we are doing it according to their willingness, the more of the satisfaction will come in the minds of the people in the organization. HR department looks at mobility in black or white terms, movable or not movable terms. So if I prepare this mobility pyramid, I will be getting the people who will be listed in two forms, that is movable and not movable. That means some may be very rigid, who do not want to move to the new locations at all, while when we move up the pyramid, the flexibility comes and the people are moreover willing to move to the other countries for the assignments, and then again they even want to stay there for a very longer period of time. So this will encourage many more managers to opt for overseas assignments and open the thinking of line and HR managers to different way to use in-house talent. Now the next is identify your leadership capital. So now when we have identified our lifeline positions or key positions in the organization, we also need to identify the leadership capital. Now leadership capital means who are those potential people, who are those potential managers within the organization who are ready to move to the other locations and are able and will be able to handle the leadership positions in these countries. So build a database of your company's mix of managerial skills by persuading people to describe their CVs in the form of management talent and their potential, whichever they are having. So you can continuously take a feedback from the people, you can appraise the people in the organization about their achievement, about their potential, and according to their potential they can be listed out, so that they are easily ready to move to the other organizations or other countries. Companies should make it clear that individuals input the system are voluntary, but the HR and the line managers will be using the data to plan promotion and internal assignments and to assess training needs. Now leadership capital will also help you find the basic people who will be leading this kind of promotions or internal assignments. Sometimes these promotions lead to satisfaction and ultimately the motivation of the people. Be mindful of personal privacy provisions for the employees. Now moving on to the next point, that is assess your bench strength and skill gaps. Now bench strengths means what are your strengths in regards to skills of the people you are having. That means whatever employees you are having, the people you are having, your human resource, what are their strengths. So if the bench strength is deep enough, that means your organization have that skilled pool within your organization. And if it is a shallow bench strength, that means you are lacking somewhere in some kind of skills of the people, and of course you will be needing to hire those people from outside the organization. So ask each executive to compare his or her skills and characteristics with the ideal requirements of the key positions. Then the person will be able to find out the gaps between whatever is required and his present skills. So if there is a gap between the present skills and the skills required to take up the jobs in the overseas assignments, of course this gap can be filled by giving certain kind of trainings or development programs to the people. Now compare the skills detailed in a personal assessment with those required by the business strategy. This information should form the basis of your management, development and training program and show whether you have time to prepare internal candidates for these new job descriptions. Now, Unilever already uses a 9-point competency framework for its senior managers. It then holds the information in private databases that serve a feeder information for 5 talent pools. The company thoroughly reviews 5 pools every 2 years and skims them in between, always using a 3 to 5 year perspective. In 1990, for example, its ice cream division had a strategic plan to move into 30 new countries. Within 7 years, Unilever began hiring in its current market with that in mind and set up a mobile ice cream academy to communicate the necessary technical skills. So, it was not very difficult for this company to recruit people for these operations in 30 new countries, because it was already preparing this data pool from past 2 years, and continuously upgrading this data pool will help the employees to find out their own potentials related to different development, related to different training programs they require for the future assignment. Similarly, IBM applies its competency framework to much broader personal base and conducts its skill gap analysis every 6 months. Business strategies in every strategic business unit define a plan for each market, and working HR specialists determine the skill required to succeed in it. Competencies are graded against 5 potential levels. Then we have the more points, that is recruit regularly. Now you need to recruit regularly from the external database also, so that it presents a healthy kind of competition for the internal people also, and they are also focused towards total upgradation of their own skills. Advertise your post internally. Now if you are going for overseas market, overseas operations, you should always advertise these posts internally first of all. Why? Because the people within the organization may be talented enough, may be having skills enough, and if they are not given this opportunity, a kind of dissatisfaction will come in the minds of the people. So to avoid that, first of all, you need to give this positions to the internal people. Then organizational succession planning. Human resource planning always leads to succession planning and career planning. So that is why we are able to maintain the database pool, and we will be able to prepare the people for the next higher levels up to 3 managerial levels in the organization. So this can be done through succession planning. Then again, challenge and retain your talent. Now a challenge will always come when they will face a kind of competition from the external people who the company can hire in respect to varied skills, varied specializations from different areas. So you should always make this kind of conducive climate where competition is very healthy amongst the people from within the organization and people who come from outside of the organization and are hired for the overseas market. Thank you.